Raw damage alone isn't enough. The Division 2 throws a huge variety of content at you, and each situation demands something slightly different. Pure glass cannon builds melt enemies fast, but the moment you get focused, pushed by rushers, or caught in that positioning, you're down and out. On the other side, full tank builds keep you alive, but often slow the team down because the damage simply isn't there. This is exactly where the Heartbreaker gear set shines. Heartbreaker sits right in the sweet spot between damage and survivability. By building and maintaining stacks through pulsing enemies, you increase your weapon damage while simultaneously generating bonus armor. The result is a build that grows stronger the longer you stay aggressive, rewarding players who keep pressure on enemies instead of hiding behind cover. So why would you want to build like this? Because consistency wins fights. A Heartbreaker build keeps you in the fight longer, lets you maintain constant pressure on enemies, and gives you some breathing room to make mistakes without immediately getting punished with a wipe. It's not the absolute highest damage build in the game, but it's one of the most reliable when the fights get chaotic. And in Division 2, we all know, chaos is the default. To get the build together, we choose Countdown as our main source for loot income. Farming in Countdown is basically a loot storm you ride with 7 other agents, and the trick is to stop treating it like a mission and start treating it like a sweep. Set your targeted loot before queuing. Stick with the group instead of wandering off. And prioritize objectives over kills because every completed objective and hunter drop multiplies your rewards. As a new player, you don't need perfect damage because the 8-player scaling melts enemies through sheer pressure, meaning you can contribute safely while still walking out with a full inventory of gear in only 15 minutes. Plus Countdown credits to buy named caches, optimization materials, and even exotics after only about 2 runs of successful Countdown extractions. Which is why it's so efficient. Constant combat, guaranteed drops, shared workload, and almost no downtime compared to slower solo farming. As for the core of this build, we'll be going for the brand set Heartbreaker. But what makes it so good? Let's talk about the bonuses you can get so you can choose whether or not this is the build you want to get together and even make it your own. For the 2-piece bonus, you gain 15% assault rifle damage and 15% LMG damage. For the 3-piece bonus, you get 15% weapon handling, a hybrid stat providing accuracy, stability, reload speed, and swap speed. And as with most green gear sets, this is what it's all about, the 4-piece bonus. The talent is called Heartstopper, which makes it so that headshots apply pulse for 5 seconds. And weapon hits on pulsed enemies add a stack of 1% bonus armor, and add 1% weapon damage to pulsed enemies. Max stack being 50, while 2 stacks are lost each second. This means keeping pressure is key. Our specialization will play a huge part in how strong this bonus will be, applying pulls to all enemies you're going to hit, even without headshots. Because of this, every round will give you immediate Heartbreaker stacks for both an increase in bonus armor and damage. A great option for this set is to use the backpack, which comes with the unique talent Cold, which increases total bonus armor gain per stack of Heartbreaker from 1% to 2%. This makes it so you can now get up to 100% bonus armor at full stacks. Now you can go for the chest talent, but I prefer a different route for a little faster damage output. In case you're wondering, the talent on the chest is called Max BPM, and it increases max stacks for Heartstopper from 50 to 100. To optimally use this set, we'll be utilizing the mod from the Technician Specialization. You can find it in your specialization tree at the desk in the White House. The linked laser pointer is an underbarrel attachment unlocked through the Technician Specialization tree, and it automatically pulses enemies when aiming down sights. It is essential for triggering talents like Flatline, Spotter, or the Heartbreaker gear set bonus for damage and armor without using the pull skill. In case you don't have this tree unlocked yet, you can start the field research right away. It's not a long or hard process, but it does get you to do some specific tasks and missions. After unlocking the specialization, to get some fast and easy skill points, do some daily missions to get 5 points for each. This should get you your mod unlocked, and even the 50% weapon damage included pretty fast. All of this works really well together, making it very easy to build up stacks for both weapon damage and armor. Only thing to keep in mind there is a bonus armor limitation, meaning if your bonus armor is full, taking damage will not trigger a new bonus armor generation until the stacks fully decay, or if you drop to a lower amount, which can leave you vulnerable if not keeping attention to. Whenever this limitation gets in your way too often, you can always switch it up a bit and go for the Heartbreaker chest piece to increase the total amount of stacks. For the build to really shine, we we add some attributes and secondary layers of upgrades. First of all, the last 2 gear pieces to complete the armor set. For these 2 pieces, I chose the unit alloys chest and holster, preferably the named pieces, the equalizer and the salvo. For the bonuses provided by the brand set itself, we have 2 gear pieces, which gets us plus 5% rate of fire for 1 piece, and plus 20% assault rifle damage for the 2-piece bonus. Additionally, thanks to the named items, we get perfect obliterate for the chest to stack even more weapon damage on top of the Heartbreaker bonus, adding 24% weapon damage at full stacks. This stacks simultaneously for the fast ramp up in damage. And for the salvo holster, adding a unique extra bonus for 5% rate of fire, totaling the set at 10% extra rate of fire, making it so you can get max Heartbreaker stacks even faster. For the minor attributes, I divide them between crit chance and crit damage, where my personal mark is 50% crit chance and every other stat or mod being put into crit damage. Don't forget your weapon mods, because they give you loads of crit chance and damage as well. Obviously, way more choices can work really well, especially when changing it up a bit if you're in possession of some exotics up for grabs. An option for great damage, and by now used in most builds that need more damage, is the exotic Overdog gloves. They add 30% extra weapon damage thanks to the exotic talent called Weakest Link, which amplifies weapon damage by 30% to the lowest ranking enemy within the tier hierarchy. If you don't have these yet, the blueprint can be farmed by completing hyena retaliations. The higher the difficulty, the more chance you get. Another top tier option would be the exotic mask, the Catharsis. Great for some more survivability when playing aggressive. The Catharsis comes with the talent Vicious Cycle, where taking damage builds stacks to a cap of 30. Each stack grants 1.5% weapon damage. Taking damage at max stacks triggers Purge, removing all stacks and status effects, and then dropping a healing cloud which restores 5% of max armor for 10 seconds to all allies in the cloud. This can be dropped from any exotic loot box because it's in the general loot pool. To get plenty of exotic boxes to some priority objectives, where the reward is an exotic item, or while farming for the gear, buy some boxes with your countdown points at the vendor at the White House. Now, for the specialization, guns, and skills we'll be using. As we talked about before, our specialization is the Technician. This provides a main component for the build. When in your specialization tree, you can see the mod we're looking for in the bottom left. Also, spend some points in the assault rifle, unlocked for an additional 15% weapon damage. For the primary gun to use in this build, one of the best options is the named assault rifle, the Kingbreaker, which comes with the talent Perfect Flatline. This talent amplifies weapon damage by 20% to pulsed enemies. Since this weapon has lower RPM, it's really nice to get some rate of fire from the gear pieces. This weapon can be obtained from random drops, vendors, named caches, even field proficiency caches when leveling up, and any area missions with assault rifles as targeted loot. It has an increased drop chance from the main mission, Camp White Oak, when completing the mission. If this isn't yet in your inventory, or you prefer any other assault rifle, the only thing you should look out for is the option to put the linked laser pointer as an underbarrel, and you're good to go. It's my main weapon to go, and this has been my favorite ever since it came out, the Lexington. The only problem now is that it's locked behind certain events like the Stretch Goals event at the end of the season. So whenever you get the chance, make sure you farm your ass off for this one. For the secondary weapon, run an ACS 12 variant, like the Lefty, the Stockbroker, or the Rock and Roll to significantly speed up building stacks, since every hit from the pellet counts for the Heartbreaker stacks to build up, and it also fires in full auto mode to do it even faster than any other weapon. Quick mention, make sure you put the linked laser pointer on the shotgun as well. For the sidearm, I have a personal favorite as well, the Quick Step. This comes with the talent Sport Mode, which gives us a 20% movement speed bonus. Now, this weapon isn't always available, but there's a workaround with the help of some other agents. If anyone played during the Houndsman events, they could still have a bounty, which can be activated in the southwest, named after the Houndsman, where the quick step can still drop. Make sure to not finish the bounty to be able to keep farming it until you get it. For the skills, I prefer the Crusader Shield for even more protection, and a Reviver Hive for when things get out of hand, providing you with a safety net when needing it most. Now let's show the gameplay loop, which gives you two choices: head on and fast, or safe but slower. Run up to the closest enemy you can find, pull out the Crusader Shield, because you will get targeted pretty fast while you're out of cover and even a bit out of position. First, empty a clip from the ACS 12 for fast and maximum stack buildup. You now have 100% bonus armor and 50% bonus damage from the Heartbreaker set, and almost full stacks from Perfect Obliterate for another 24% weapon damage. Switch to your primary weapon, the Kingbreaker, which adds 20% weapon damage from Perfect Flatline. Clean up the entire field with the max damage output, fully loaded up. Even for boss fights, this keeps your damage up if you keep pressure high, meaning shoot a lot. Whenever this is too big a risk, take some more time to build up stacks, choosing positioning over fast stacks and keeping control over every fight. What you really want to avoid is getting yourself killed. Being out of position tends to do this very quickly, especially when you get up to the higher difficulty content. For the build to work really well, keeping pressure is key, so stay safe, but also keep being active and add stacks at every opportunity. To make things easy, here's a build overview starting from the top. Technician Specialization for 15% assault rifle damage, the linked laser pointer, add both the laser pointer to the primary and the secondary weapons. The Kingbreaker named assault rifle, with the talent Perfect Flatline for 20% increased weapon damage. Secondary, the ACS-12 shotgun variant for fast maximum stacks, both for damage and armor. Heartbreaker gear set with the mask, backpack, gloves, and knee pads. Unit alloys, named chest piece and holster, the equalizer, and the salvo for extra rate of fire, 20% weapon damage, and the Perfect Obliterate talent for another 24% extra weapon damage. For the cores, this build works both ways for damage and armor. But since every bit of armor can be doubled through the Heartbreaker set, I went for 2 red cores for damage and 4 blue cores for armor. At full stacks, this gets us up to 3 million armor. Adding the minor attributes divided between crit chance and crit damage, where my personal mark is 50% crit chance and every other stat or mod is being put into crit damage. And lastly, the skills, the Crusader Shield and the Reviver Hive, providing that last edge for safety and consistency. As always, there's only one variation to run. Love to hear how you made your build personal, hop in the comments. Let me know when you have any questions come up, because I'm happy to help you build. Else, I'll see you in the next one.